Can you hear me now? Did I have myself muted somehow? That was weird. Can you guys hear me now? Just let me know if you can. Maybe, hopefully. All good now? Okay, thanks, Kyle. Kyle, you're the man. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. You guys can hear me? Sweet. I had myself muted on the stream software somehow. I don't know. Whenever I stream from home, it's a little bit more nerve-wracking because I feel like I can mess it up. At the office, I've got everything set up, got all the lighting and the setting all prepared. So at home, it makes it a little bit more difficult. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a good trading week this week. I had a little bit of a rough one, to be honest with you. Yesterday with the DXY move and the dollar moving quite a bit, had some trades that were long biased on the US dollar pair and didn't work out so well yesterday with the Fed meeting, which was quite a bearish response. I think that the main idea with that, the whole idea with why that might have been considered bearish was, from what I could gather, what I was hearing, there was still, we were far away or not super close or anywhere near where we want to be with some of the key bounce back areas in the economy, as well as sort of nowhere near anytime right now, at least, the idea of raising rates. So there was a couple analysts on there that talked about, or people that were interviewing or asking questions that were like, people are concerned with the whole stock market rally and whether or not the market or the economy might be melting up. And Jerome Powell sort of made it pretty clear that for now, there's no super short-term interest in trying to raise rates, which is usually what we see when that environment gets going. Which is also pretty good for the dollar, right? If they raise rates, that attracts a lot of investors into the U.S. dollar, because if they raise rates, there's more yield for people who hold on to things like bonds, things like the dollar, right? How's everybody doing today? Says Leandro. Thanks for being here, Leandro, and thanks to everybody who's hanging out. GDP is good, but employment is worse than expected. How can this affect today's trade? So good question, Ish. Ish, shout out to Ish. He was here when it was 3:30 a.m. his time. What time is it where you guys are? Just comment that in the chat room. I'm just curious what you guys have. Okay, so let's get into some ideas. Let's get into some thoughts as you guys share that. Maybe with the US dollar, sort of the aftermath of what happened, we could look at that for sure, and then we can go from there. So let's look at the euro, just start where we feel comfortable. Look at this, you guys. This is such an interesting technical move here. So on the euro yesterday, we were watching it, and we said there was basically, as always with news, there's two scenarios, right? You've got things go well for news and things go poorly for news. If things went, basically what happened is things went poorly for US news, and we sort of saw this consolidation zone get validated sharply, right? What I mean by that is we were consolidating here, and buyers and sellers were unable to really tell, hey, who's going to win this area, right? Because whenever we see consolidation in markets, what you're seeing really is buyers and sellers combating over a certain space in the market, right? Are these prices cheap or expensive? That's what the constant evaluation of the market is. That's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to find areas where things look cheap and where places look expensive. And so this area was in question, right? There's a big question mark here as buyers and sellers sort of awaited for the news, and bam, we got the news and got some nice bullish move there. And for those of you who are shorter term traders, even there might have been some follow through on the news spike. So the spike sort of happened around here, but there might have been some follow through just there. And there very well still could be if things continue to look bearish for the dollar. I mentioned that I think we're going to hit 121.5. I think we already hit that. Did we? It looks like we barely tagged it before falling back down. That's really interesting. So price came literally up to a high. Look at that. So in the top left corner, watch right here. I don't know if you could see that very well from where you're looking, but the high of this candle is 1.215, which is exactly to the point even where we were thinking that the euro dollar could go, or at least I was saying yesterday. The reason for that is you've just got sort of a key spot on the chart, on the daily chart. If we drop this back, From a round number play, you've got this whole area, right? So you've got where there was past resistance, sellers came in hot here and here. I was basically saying I think price probably rallies up to right around there. And then we picked out 1.215 because of that round number play. A lot of times in markets, people keep an eye on big levels, right? For example, a stock going to $100 is sort of a significant level, right? Or a stock crossing over $1,000. Those are psychologically big levels, right? Thank you guys for letting me know where you're tuning in. John is 4 p.m. in Tanzania. Style 9 a.m. New York City. Good figures on the Euro news today. Yeah, Euro's just looking hot right now. 3 p.m. South Africa. Cool. Okay. It's always interesting. I mean, for me, it's 9 a.m. So obviously I say that a lot, but it's 9 a.m. for me. Interesting just to see where people are tuning in from. All right. So let's also. So like I said, one of the things with round number plays, it's actually a really interesting concept. We could talk about that for just a minute. But round number plays, look over here on the right side of the screen. You've got some key levels like 1.2, 1.22, right, 1.23. And these are major levels because they're psychologically like pleasing to a lot of traders, right? And that's almost why sometimes people pay attention to them is like, you know, whenever I do my analysis and I figure out a zone, sometimes one of the easiest ways to find the pinpoint of the zone, if you will, is looking for a key psychological level like 1.215 or 1.22. Both of these levels are pretty like even split. In fact, I would say 1.22 is even more significant, but it's really probably just a range of prices where, you know, you might have some big players come in and say, hey, this is expensive, we want to sell it, right? Vice versa, you might have people on the buy side who look for pullbacks and look for cheap offerings of the euro against the dollar. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about big key levels of supply and demand. Okay, so with the euro dollar right now, I will say this. So although price is looking very bullish, I am not an incredibly bullish person on the euro dollar. I am sort of mixed opinion on this currency pair at this time. The euro has had some impressive bounce back and some positivity come into its conversations there with the ECB sort of looking more optimistic on the side of bounce back towards the rest of 2021. So I have no interest in being aggressively short on the euro against the dollar. However, I think that it has been lagging for some time, and its GDP is nowhere near as you know, strong right now as places like the US and places you know, that are bouncing back stronger like Australia. So that's why I still think that in some cases the euro is a short against some of the more favorable ones out there. I'll give you one idea. If you're a bear on the euro, one of my favorite pairs right now or lately has been euro against the Australian dollar because I'm bullish on the Australian dollar. Their bounce back has been very strong. 2020 was a very strong year for the Australian dollar, or I should say like the second half, right? When things started to recover, things went very, very strong for the old Australian dollar, right? So when we're looking at this, for me, I've been watching this zone. I caught a trade here and here. Those were pretty much, and I think I tried to short somewhere in here thinking we'd go lower. I unfortunately think I get stopped out here. So I took some really great trades on Euro Aussie this year so far, mostly in March and here in April. Had some nice trades on the Euro Aussie, and I think that there may be some more setting up. So we poked into that region yesterday. I wish I was looking at it at that time, but I wasn't quite looking at it. But I'm very keen on looking for more short setups on things like euro against the Australian dollar. This is one of my more favorite currency pairs at this time. You know, another one that you can look at is Euro New Zealand dollar, right? This one looking interesting to me. On the short side, should we bounce to some of these higher levels on the zone, right? So both of these currency pairs are ones that I'd be interested in looking for short setups. And again, mostly because I am sort of short biased on the euro and long biased on the New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar, especially bullish because they've also had a really strong bounce back. They've had you know, some good recovery, and on top of that, they've also mentioned raising rates. There's some of the more hawkish sounding reporting major currency that sounds like it wants to raise rates sooner. So I'm keeping an eye on this one for sure. Any signs or news of that could cause breaks to the downside and further movements lower, in which case I'd be very much interested in looking for sell trades in this pair. So I probably would not buy this currency pair because, again, that would go against my bullish thesis on the New Zealand and the Australian currencies. So that's what I want to talk about with the euro so far today. Let's take a look at some of the pound pairs, because I know some of you guys love the pound dollar. Does anybody trade the pound dollar here? Comment yes or no if you trade the pound dollar. I'm just curious to see who trades this thing and who does not trade it. And if you don't trade it, I'm curious why. Okay, so pound dollar on the 4-hour chart. Got some nice little uptrending structure here. Similar to the euro dollar recently, the pound dollar has had some nice strength. And this one, in fact, I'm a little bit more bullish on, right? So when I'm looking at the pound dollar, I have a little bit more of a bullish thesis with all this. I think it has potential to continue going higher. So when I'm looking at the pound dollar, we're talking about a currency or an economy that has actually bounced back a little bit stronger, in my view, and most people's view, than Europe so far. Their vaccine rollout has been much better perceived. Their bounce back has been just a little bit more smooth compared to the EU. So for me, I like the pound dollar potentially long. I think pullbacks to areas like this might offer some nice short-term swing trades. There might be some moves like this that you might be able to play out on. Definitely something that's interesting to me. I'm actually, fingers crossed, hoping to see a little bit more of a pullback there on the pound dollar. Maybe could give myself a chance to get long and try and get involved there. So that's what I'm thinking on the pound dollar. So that is what I've got so far on GBP USD. I like this area, this pullback zone here, right? And then, of course, in terms of the supply zone, you've got that fresh high, that fresh level here, which really hasn't been tested too thoroughly. We tried to poke up there, saw a little bit of rejection. If price pops up there, will be interesting to see if sellers can hold this or if buyers are going to be able to break through. But I think that if the pound dollar continues to form higher lows like this, that we probably could break through that and maybe even make a move up to the previous high, right? Which is actually quite a bit of distance away in terms of pips. So if we actually look here, you've got what, 225 to 250 pips of upside if this thing decides to scream back to the top, right? Do you guys have any echo? Are you hearing echo on your, is the sound, everything all right? I like that banner the best, or the background the best. I don't know what you guys think. So let's also, someone, Jen said the sentiment is the same so far. Let's actually look at the sentiment today. So if I go to the website, A1 Trading, and go to, oh, look at that, Bart has a new U.S. Advanced GDP, what to expect. Ooh, that's actually an interesting read. We might look at that in just a second. So retail Forex sentiment. Let's go to the pound and see if anything has changed here. Okay, the pound dollar has switched a little bit to the short side, which is actually kind of interesting to me. So the pound is at 63% short and 36% long. That means that most retail traders, think that this thing is going lower. And so when most retail traders think something, usually I'm going to be cautious to not trade with them. Not all the time, but in most cases, I'm trying to avoid being with the crowd. So when you have something like this that's rising, you got a lot of people who are thinking it's going to go lower. It very well could go lower, but for me, I'd be much more interested in trying to go against that crowd because most traders lose money, right? And so that's the unfortunate truth. So very interesting, Jen says, I'm forward testing retail sentiment yesterday. 24 pairs closed against the position of the retailers and 4 in their trading direction. 1% investment on each equals 20. Hey, Jens, do me a favor. I have a question for you. If you could you send an email to our support page with that. Like if you have anything you want to share, I mean, you don't have to, of course, but if you have anything you want to share, maybe on the website, that'd be cool to see what your study brings on retail sentiment. The background is disturbing. Hey, let me know, you guys. What do you think? What do you think on the background? Let me know real quick. Let's do an experiment. Would you rather me do this? Background number 1 or background number 2? Which do you think is cooler? Let me know. Comment 1 or 2. Number 1, number 2. I like both. I like the gradient and I like the currencies in the background. So number 1, number 2. Chat real quick what you think, and I'll set it to what you guys want. Hey, Francesco sends 2 euros there and says Euro GBP. Absolutely. Thank you very much for the donation, by the way. That means a lot. Just supporting the stream here. You are the best. Thank you, Francesco. We'll take a look at the Euro GBP. I would love to take a look at this currency pair because it's actually one that is very high up on my interest list right now. So let's talk about it. All right. Okay, lots of ones. All good. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll go with the gradient. Let's do the gradient for you guys. No problem. Cool. Okay, so Euro GBP. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the pound, or sorry, the euro against the pound today. So the euro against the pound has been bouncing back, but in the longer term picture, it's been very bearish, right? So we've seen this thing from the start of 2021, really, we've seen this thing really roll over and be pretty bearish. You can see right around here is the start of 2021. So if we go like right here to right here, you know, that's a pretty bearish move. We got a lot of downside during the last several months. And then just recently, we've had a little bit of a rebound. Now, the thing is, the question is this rebound a pullback or is it a full-blown reversal? And to answer that question, it really comes down to pinning up 2 major currencies against one another. You've got 2 major currencies, right? Like the four most used currencies are the US dollar, the next one is the euro, then the yen, then the pound, right? So when you tie up these 2, these are 2 big giants going against each other. And what the thing moving this recently is this optimism out of Europe where things look a little bit more promising and there might be some bounce back. What we have to attempt to do is decipher whether or not the pound can get strong enough or continue to outpace Europe, or if Europe is going to catch up or even outpace the pound. My bet would be on the pound. My bet would be that the UK could or is likely to outpace in terms of bounce back, especially if the pandemic continues to subside. My bet would be on the pound and the UK, because the Europe is sort of it's a bigger place, obviously, but it is a slower moving, at least in GDP. You know, let's go look at something. I think this will be easier to understand if I do it this way. We'll go to GDP data, and this is on the website. Again, you can check this out whenever you want. So on the website, we go to GDP, and I want to look at let's look at the GDP first. So this is the United Kingdom's GDP growth rate, quarter over quarter and year over year. Okay, so the top one here shows us what the United Kingdom GDP on a quarter over quarter basis looks like. That's a little bit hard to say. So what you can see is that there's been some nice growth, right? Since the pandemic, which was bad for everybody. Every economy suffered during that, right? Since then, you know, we've had some nice growth back. We had a really strong bounce back there in the UK, almost 17%, and then followed by the next quarter being 1.3%, which was good, right? Because you can see before the pandemic, you can see the GDP grown by 0.1%, 0.4% in a quarter, 0.6% in a quarter. You know, so these are solid bounce back numbers. And then you can see that the year over year growth rate in the UK, you can see it being, you know, it's improving, right? There's some bounce back there. So it's improving. Let's go to Europe. Europe is not, it's still bouncing back, but it's just not as impressive, right? So when you say you're buying the Europe or the euro, what you're doing is you are saying you think that the European economy is going to grow faster than the pound economy. This is just GDP. There are other factors that impact currency prices. Don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to point out GDP for you just as a measurement. So you've got same scenario, big drawdown, but you can notice something here. Remember when we had a bigger downside on the GBP? It's because Europe's economy is a little bit more stable, right? But the UK has the chance or the possibility to grow at a faster rate. So the GBP would on a much bigger swing than the euro, or at least in terms of economy. So it had a big spike to the downside and then a nice rally back. Remember, we were talking about almost 17% growth back on the GBP. So it had a really strong bounce back, even though it had a very large decline. Well, and then the next quarter was actually negative. So we saw a negative concern here. And then there's been concerns about a double dip recession, which is 2 consecutive quarters where you've got negative GDP. So it's still, not as strong as that GBP, which looks a little bit healthier. So for me, I've been long biased on the pound. You can see that things are, even the most latest data was declining in terms of year-over-year growth. So this is what I mean by when I take a look at these currencies, I like the idea of favoring that pound, favoring the stronger looking currency. Now, if that changes dramatically, then by all means, maybe I'll shift my bias the other direction, start looking for long setups. But for now, the story, the numbers seem to be bearish for the euro compared to the pound. So for me, I'm looking at sellers area. So I like this zone of resistance. I like this zone even more. So both of these areas are places where I could potentially look for opportunities to get short. If we draw a fib from the extremes here, you could argue that you've got the 38.2 just there. So this is probably not the worst trade setup in my view. If we got a little bit of a pop up there, could see myself looking for opportunities to try and go southbound on that euro GBP. I know it's a long-winded answer, but I hope that was helpful to Francesco, who requested that. And I hope that for those of you guys who are also interested in this currency pair, that was something useful for you too. So I like that 38.2% retracement level as a potential area to short. That gives us a little bit of fresh supply there. But again, I mostly favor the pound over the euro on this. Okay. So good stuff there. Johnson said he made 230 pips trading EJ. Let's take a look at it. Why not? Very nice move there. My goodness, euro yen flew, didn't it? What the heck happened here? I know a lot of the yen pairs really were moving today or the last several days. So if you caught this move, Johnson, congratulations, man. That's a great move there. I'm jealous. That's a great move there on the euro JPY. Not a currency pair that I'm super interested in, but with Europe coming out with some fresh optimism, this just makes sense, right? With Europe coming out with fresh optimism, and you've got something that I'm very bearish on, which is the yen right now. This just makes sense. Now, in terms of if you want to get involved, if you're looking at this thing and you want to buy it, I would personally say I'm staying out of the way. I'm not jumping into this right now. I'm staying a distance away. If anything, if I was very bullish on the euro, this would actually be one of the currency pairs that I'd be interested in trading. But I would have to see a pullback, right? Something, maybe a pullback to previous levels of demand. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that if that happened, that would be the only way that I could probably see myself getting involved on a currency pair like that. Cool comment from Dade. Dade says that I've been holding EJ for a month, and I'm with you, Johnson. Awesome. So we got a couple people who are grabbing some moves there. 175 pips on GJ, says Sir G. We'll take a look at GJ next. But again, for me, big picture here is pullbacks only really on the euro JPY if I was to get involved. Pound yen really running here. This is just a teaser because if you guys remember, I covered the fact that I got tagged out of a stop on this trade, and it happens. It's not something that I'm going to complain about or anything like that. It is a bit frustrating, but it happens to everybody. I ended up taking a long position around here, got stopped out just before it started to rally and head up to heaven without me. So it happens, but it definitely can be frustrating even to, I've been doing this for what feels like a long time now, like 5 years. So it still happens to me occasionally. It is frustrating, and there's not a lot you can do. For me, if anything, maybe I'll look for an opportunity to try and get involved on a healthy pullback. We've got some structure here. If we were to get something like a retest of some levels here, maybe we see that run up, but I do think we're probably headed to previous highs. So congrats to anybody who is in GJ and EJ. Those ones are both just real big winners right now, and that's awesome. So good for you. In terms of a sell area, I mean, if you're a bear on the pound yen, maybe watch this previous high, but for me, I'm not interested in trying to sell this thing anytime soon, even though it does look stretched. The problem is, look at this. Let me show you guys this. We'll go to retail sentiment. I can tell you right now that the pound yen is being shorted by a lot of retail traders because it looks too high. Okay, let's look at that. 87% of traders, retail traders, look at pound yen and they say, I'm shorting this thing, right? This is data from myfxbook.com, and apparently, according to their system, 87% of traders trading the pound yen are short. So when we look at this, you got to understand that the retail trader, the average trader, is saying, this looks too high, it's got to come down, right? And that is just simply not the case with strong trends. It can come down, like it definitely could. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that betting against the trend can be a very dangerous practice for a lot of traders. So for me, if anything, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, that's strong. I want to be involved, right? I want to look for continuation higher. Does that make sense? Pound yen. Okay, let's take a look at gold, see what's going on with the gold market. Gold pulling back sharply. Look at this, you guys. Real big move there to the downside on the 4-hour chart here on gold. Let's get rid of some of these old trend lines. I feel like they're not as valuable anymore. So we are testing a key level here. So yesterday, with the Fed news, we had some really strong rallies off of the lows here on the gold market. We saw a nice push up right off that zone, and now we can see prices coming right back. For the bulls out there, you probably want to see this thing hold, because if this doesn't hold, if this breaks down, sellers be ready, because I think this could actually be quite the bearish little mover here. So what I think is, you can kind of see we broke out of this upward trend line, right? You had nice little demand, nice little push up. We broke out of that to the downside, rallied strong, but sellers came in hot and heavy right there at that trend line, that retest there. So I think that this looks somewhat concerning for the bulls, because if this was to break down to the low side, I think that looks really good for sellers to try and continue this push that they've already started, right? That push down. Yes, the news was bearish for the dollar and caused gold to spike, but again, if sellers are coming in here and selling the rallies, that's something that they could do for a lot longer than people expect, right? That thing could be sold into for weeks. We could see, sellers come in, push it lower, sellers come in, push it lower. And that's been something that I've been thinking about, is mostly bearish on the gold market. So for sellers out there, for people who want to be selling gold or looking to short it, watch for a break underneath 1760. Yeah, 1760, right? Watching for the break here. If that happens, we head back to this level, might be some opportunities to try and look for short continuations. Now, as always, this is not me telling you what to do with your accounts or your money. This is just me sharing my opinions, but I am sort of semi-bearish on gold, so I don't think that it's necessarily going to nothing or anything, but I do think that it's competing with the bond market right now, and the bond yields seem to be rising. And so if that continues, gold is put under a bit of pressure as people flock to bonds instead of metals. So just my thoughts there, but we will see what goes on. Hey, I want to remind you guys, if you're enjoying these streams, I do them for you on a Monday through Friday basis. Down at the bottom of the screen there right now, you can actually see we go live at 9 a.m. US Eastern each day, Monday through Friday. So if you don't want to miss a stream, make sure to tag that, click the subscribe button and note and the what's it called, the notification bell as well, so that you get notified whenever I go live. That should make it a little bit easier for you to get in here and to hang out with us again in the future. This is something I do completely for free. I just go through the markets and share my thoughts. So if you're enjoying these streams, make sure to like and subscribe down below. Okay, so that's the gold market. Honestly, for me, I think that if sellers do get strong and are able to break through this level, I mean, watch this level, because that level is a big spot. That's where we bounced off the news yesterday. So if that gets broken, that's a big, it's a big signal. So anyways, if we do get very, very bearish on gold, if things look really, really, if you're a longer term seller, my target would be somewhere like this. A move down to 1680 and maybe even below. So that's my thoughts on gold. Like I said, just my opinions. I could be completely wrong, and I know there's some bulls in the house, so I'm not trying to offend you. It's just my opinion, and trust me, I can be wrong. So don't think that just because I say that gold absolutely is going to do it. So let's see what else we can look at. So we talked about gold, talked a little about the pound and the dollar and the euro. I guess we could talk about the dollar CAD, which actually dollar CAD, you guys, was so weak yesterday. And look at it, it still is. This thing just absolutely died. This thing fell apart. Like, I saw yesterday that the CAD was strong and that the dollar was very weak. And I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, dollar CAD is probably falling through the floor right now. And sure enough, it did what we said it was going to do. We've talked about this currency pair for a while. I wish I had a trade on it. I didn't have a trade on it. But the dollar CAD really, really broke through the key spot that we pointed out. So I don't know if it was a few days back or a week or so, we talked about the dollar CAD. Someone asked me, hey, Nick, is the dollar CAD going to find support and rally back? Like, it looks like it's formed a bottom, right? Right around here. And I said, I got to pat myself on the back, right? Because I'm not always right. I'm kidding. I'm not even going to say I'm always right, because I'm definitely not. So dollar CAD, right? So dollar CAD, someone asked me, hey, Nick, is this the bottom? It looks strong, looks like it has room to run. And honestly, at the time, you know, right around here, it did look strong. It looked like we had some buyers finally for this currency pair. But I said on the stream that I would not bet on it. I would not be long on the dollar CAD. You wouldn't catch me buying this thing anytime right now, because the oil market is so strong. There's so much news that's positive for oil. Why does that matter? The CAD has a large economy based around oil. So usually what we see is bullishness in the oil market causes bullishness in the CAD. Also, the Canadian economy is bouncing back pretty strongly. It's another positive thing for the Canadian market. So we had some positive news for the oil market, which caused CAD to just fly, and we also see it breaking through a very key spot. So the thing I mentioned was, you know, look at the pattern here. Look at the very simple, observable pattern here on the dollar CAD. We form a low, and then what do we do to that low? We smash through it, right? We form a low. What do? We smash through it, retest it, continue lower, right? So it's one of those things, when you notice that there's a market forming lower lows consistently on a higher time frame basis, that's what you call a strong long-term trend. So Sir G said it best. Once again, the trend is your girlfriend, or if you're a straight female, it's your boyfriend. Whatever works for you, I don't care. The trend is your friend, but maybe even slightly romantic. I'm kidding, that's weird. The dollar CAD, though, definitely the trend is your friend here, right? It's been so many times where things just, you know, formed a low and then it gets smashed. Formed a low, and then it gets smashed right through, right? Form a low, a little bit of a breakout, consolidation, but ultimately continued lower. So with this thing, when somebody asked me, you know, hey, Nick, is this the bottom? I said, look at the track record. Look at what's going on with this thing. Now, sure, it can reverse at a certain point, but until we see signs of it reversing, look at the history, look at the track record. We form lows and then they get broken. Sellers are stronger than buyers, and there's clearly some long-term sell pressure on this currency pair. This breaking out is no surprise to me because, again, look at the history, right? The trend is my spouse. Now that is a statement. Romantic markets. What do you think about dollar yen? We can take a look at it in just a moment. But don't you think the momentum is dying and there will be buying opportunities very soon once we get strength in buyers? Well, that's the thing, Bobby. The thing is, there is no strength by buyers yet. The thing is, if you're saying, are we going to get it for a discount? The problem with saying, am I getting it at a discount is it looked like a discount here. It looked like a discount here. It looked like a discount. We could literally just scroll over here and, it looked like a discount here. It was short term, but if you're talking about like a big picture, a discount on the dollar CAD, I mean, if you're a super long-term investor and you think that the US dollar is going to just outpace the CAD in the next 2 years, maybe there's some discounts. But for us shorter term traders, for me, it's a losing game to try and look for a discount on a currency pair that is just incredibly strong one way or the other, because I find it just so much easier to go with the momentum in the market. So the thing is, right, the momentum is actually picking up to the downside, even though it looks stretched, even though it looks too low and it looks like it can't go any lower. The thing is, we actually see this thing picking up momentum at the bottom of this trend. And this is the sign of, the thing about currency pairs is they can trend for a lot longer than people expect. And that's why a lot of people get in trouble when they look at things like dollar CAD. They say this thing is too low, it's got to come back, right? And the truth is, the currency market can go much lower or higher than you ever would have thought. Now we have to mark this level as a possible level of supply. This very same level that looked like the ultimate discount is now looking like a place to potentially sell on the short-term levels. So when I bring that bias down with me, maybe to the 4-hour chart, if anything, we had some nice consolidation to the sideways, and then we got a break to the downside. And so pullbacks for me are looking like opportunities to continue this sell trend. Now, again, if that changes, I'm not saying that that's absolutely going to happen and that you can be certain in that. What I'm saying is that I'm going to put my desire to buy low, sell high to the side for a moment. I'm going to say this thing is going lower and it probably will continue lower. When that changes, then I will change my direction too. Maybe I will look for possible buys, but I'm not going to do that preemptively. I'm going to wait for signs that the market is reversing. Let me give you an example. Let's say that we are looking for bullish setups. Let's say that you do want to buy this thing. You say, I think it's too stretched to the downside. And you decide, okay, well, in that case, let me look for signs of buying. In that case, you'd want to see the exact opposite. You'd want to see lows get held very nicely, and you'd want to see resistance levels get broken. At least that's how I look at it, right? So if I'm saying this thing is in a downward market, but I want to buy it, for me, that would take, okay, break back above some resistance, start to show signs of buy pressure, and at some point looking to get long, trying to go with the new trend. That's what would get me in long on dollar CAD. I would not go long here, or I technically wouldn't go long here, but I also wouldn't go long here, wouldn't go long here, wouldn't go long here. If anything, I'd be short biased until I'm proven wrong. Does that make sense? It's not that I'm always right, it's that I stick with the trend until it changes, like objectively. CAD yen also making higher highs. Let's take a look at dollar yen, and we'll take a look at CAD yen. Look at that. Look at that pullback, you guys. Did anybody catch that trade we talked about yesterday on dollar yen on this pullback? Look at it. It held the 38.2 perfectly and then rallied. Again, the yen is very, very weak. The one market that is probably going to be the most interesting to look at today is probably CAD yen. In fact, let's look at we should have done this at the start. Sorry about this. Let's go look at the currency heat map just for a moment. So the yen is just getting destroyed today, which just absolutely getting sold off against everything, actually, all the majors. I'm sure that the CAD against the yen, the CAD against the yen is today's biggest winner. So we will look at that in a moment. But anyways, so dollar yen looking very, very strong here. Nice little bounce back off of that 38.2% retracement. We saw the discount, or we saw the pullback to this point. Buyer saw it as a discount and then shot it through. Now retesting, holding that level very nicely. And look at that, the dollar yen just breaking through the highs of the day. So very bullish there. Nothing for me to do here. I'm not going to chase this thing. I'm not going to buy it now, or I'm not going to sell it now. If anything, I would have, honestly, the trade was right there. The trade was that pullback that we talked about yesterday. Wish I caught it. I had too many trades open at the time, though. Okay, CAD yen. Look, what do you even say about that? That is just an incredible uptrend. Look at this. This is the cool thing about really positive, strong news. Sometimes it gives you one of these moves where you just get a super big move to the upside, and then it just goes and goes and goes. So congrats to anybody who is a long biased CAD trader right now. Anybody who's got positions open on the CAD to the long side. Very, very good stuff there. CAD yen just doing its thing. And to those of us, myself included, I'm not in on this trade. For those of us who are watching this thing run away, don't worry. We can catch the next one. It doesn't have to be a FOMO thing. If you feel FOMO, if you feel like frustrated in the markets, please understand that there's also a lot of traders out there who are stuck in really bad positions. They are stuck in bad trades. They are frustrated and they're losing money. So sometimes it's really okay to just sit on the sidelines and wait for the next one. Be ready for it. Congratulate the people who are making great money out there. Congrats. Like if you guys are long on the euro dollar, if you're long on euro yen, CAD yen, dollar yen, anything against the yen today, you are probably having a nice trading day. So congratulations to you guys. And that's awesome. So it's one of those things you can't go getting all frustrated if you're not in every single good trade. So just go with the flow, let the good trades come to you, and be patient. So that would be my advice to you guys out there who are like me. You don't have these amazing trades going, and it's just one of those things you wish you were, but it's all right. We'll catch the next one. Ish made a good point here. He said that it's better to get FOMO than to overtrade. Yes, because listen, you guys, for my friends out there, like I said, for those of you who do not have these trades on, you're not holding on to these amazing runners right now. And I'm speaking to myself as well. The thing is, all we can do is we can look at them and say, hey, congrats if you caught that move. But the thing is, we got to remember that we need to, if we're going to catch those trades, you're not going to catch every single one of those trades, but if you're going to catch them in the future, you just need to be ready and you need to be not chasing. Because right now, although I do, this thing is super bullish and great for the people who are in it, I wouldn't go buying it right now, right? I'm not saying it's going to drop. I'm saying that the risk to reward, the great trade setups, we're back here. We're looking for, follow through. We're looking for that move before it happened. Once it starts happening, it's a game of musical chairs. Although, yes, it could keep going for much higher. The point is trying to rush in and trying to capture this move before it drops, because it will pull back at a certain point, is more like musical chairs. And there's not a lot of justified buying for me anywhere in this move. This is the sort of move that I'd be holding on to. I wouldn't be entering in, right? So if I was long, I'd be holding on to this. That's how I would play that, right? We took a look at euro yen a bit earlier, and so that's what we're now we're just on to the different currencies, and that's pretty crazy. I mean, this CAD move is just ridiculous. This is awesome for the CAD bulls. I'm a bull on the CAD, but I didn't catch this move, so I'm sad in the chat right now. I'm sitting here on the sidelines, but it's all good. It's just part of it. 1 minute covers. I'd like to thank you for sharing this trading live every day with us. We do our own analysis, and every day we upgrade our knowledge with you. Thank you for that. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that. 1 minute covers. That's a nice thing of you to say. I'm happy to do it. I just get to go through the markets with you guys. I've met some really cool traders, and a lot of you have even come into join our community after watching these streams, which is a really cool thing. We've got a lot of people in the chat rooms that watch the streams on a regular basis. Shout out to my friends in the chat. If you're a VIP member, then glad to have you here. A lot of people convert over to members from these streams. So we find some of our best traders and best members from people who are just down to earth hanging out with myself on stream here. By the way, we are doing a sale right now on the private Discord that we have. So if you like what I do here, you want to get closer to myself and my trading and the rest of our community there, we've got a lot of different members from around the world, and we've got a couple different analysts. We've got a guy from Australia, got a guy from the UK, from Germany, another person who lives here in the US with me. His name's Frank. So if you have any interest in joining our private Discord, we're actually doing a sale right now of 25% off to welcome new members from the live streams. You can use a promo code that's down below in the description. You don't have to join, but if you do want to, if you've been looking for a community to join, if you've been looking for a very serious place, like this is not a spammy chat room, this is a place where a lot of realistic traders come together. You get all of my trades sent to you. So if I take a trade, you see it right away with full breakdowns. It's not like, oh, buy here. It's this is why I'm buying. This is where I'm buying. This is the trade setup and why I think it has potential. So if that sounds helpful to you, you can get in there down below in the description. On top of that, you also get access to our private coaching webinars. So Joe does some webinars multiple times a week, just answering people's questions and going through key lessons that members have been struggling with. And then we also have some strategy library tools, and we also have software tools for our gold members. So check it out down below in the description if you have any interest in working closer to myself and my team. We're based in Atlanta, and we've got a full staff of full-time paid people that are helping to create this community and make it the best it can be. So if that sounds helpful to you, then I invite you to come join us inside of the private chat. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. That's going to wrap up the stream. I've got some things to move on to, and if I take any update or make any updates on my trades, of course, those of you guys in the private membership group will see that as it comes out. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for looking at the markets with me, and remember, we'll be back tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe and like down below for more free trading content. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and we'll see you back next time.